And welcome back to The Factor Uncensored. Leaving behind loved ones without a will has its consequences. Chadwick Boseman, you know him, Black Panther, died of colon cancer almost 2 years ago. He did not have a will. As a result, his estate, which is worth $2.3 million, $3.8 million before the court got involved taking out fees, will be evenly divided between his widow and his parents. But a huge chunk, as we said, went to legal fees in the court system, and that's why you need a will.
First, Lenise, let me say I was shocked that Chad Boseman's estate was only worth $3.8 million. We think about the billion-dollar making Black Panther, playing James Brown, and a long list of roles. That's just one question. However, you're here because of the amount that the courts can take if you don't leave a will behind. Yeah. Now, in this case, the court took, I think, what, $900,000 out of his $3.8 million estate.
That's correct, Isaiah. And yeah, so whenever you don't have a will, the court has to probate your estate, and they're going to appoint an attorney who's an ad litem. That attorney is going to be tasked with trying to figure out if there are any other heirs to this estate. Also, whenever there's a contest with the estate, then the court can appoint attorneys. And sometimes the court appoints people who act as administrators of these estates, and they can receive a percentage. So it's really important that parties have a will, because when you don't, the court has to do so many things to make sure that, you know, they're following the intestacy scheme and that all of the heirs are properly identified, and just making sure that the estate is divided in the proper way.
Now, when you think about Chadwick Boseman's case, there are only two parties, his parents and his wife, who he married late in life, and there were questions at first, but he put out a statement saying it was my wife, and he was by her side, or she was by his side when he died. But when you think about two parties involved, parents, wife, and it costs $900,000, that just doesn't make sense mathematically to me. But that's what the courts can do you if you don't have that will when you die.
When you don't have the will, Isaiah, and sometimes even when people start contesting the will and are not in agreement about who's going to be over the estate. So it's very important to have these conversations prior to passing, definitely to leave that will. You want to leave the will because you want to be in control of, or have some semblance of control of, what happens to your property. And you don't want it all to end up getting eaten up like this did, you know, in the court. So you got $900,000 of an estate gone, and you don't want that to happen. So you need to have the will, and you need to have the conversations with the people that you're going to leave in position when you transition.
And of course, you hit the nail right there. And you just don't have to be a millionaire. You don't have to be rich. You know, just imagine the courts taking a fourth of your estate, say if it's worth $500,000, then you're left, your family's left without that money. That's why it's important to get those documents. So is it expensive to get a last will and testament for the average person?
For the average person, it doesn't have to be. And expensive is going to vary from person to person, right? But you could be looking at something from as low as a few $100s to thousands of dollars, depending on the size and the complexity of how you want to divide your estate. But I can tell you that it's much more expensive to not have that will.
All right, Attorney Lenise Parker, thank you for your time. We wanted to hit home the importance of this, and Chadwick Boseman was a perfect example to show, like a fourth of his estate is gone because of court fees. Thank you for joining us here on The Factor Uncensored tonight.
And we want to congratulate attorney Lenise Parker there. She is getting married this weekend, and I will be there Saturday to say congratulations.